Got Your Eers On is brought to you by Tactical Legion 9. All
right, everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Got Your Eers On. Guido here along with Scoot.
And coming to you recorded from the Frog. You love him. You love to love him. Here's Johnson.
Everybody needs a little time away. I heard Scoot say, Guido, join me from each other.
All right, we're back. And everybody, Johnson, we really appreciate the three people that tweeted at us.
No, we genuinely do. Yes. No, we do. I totally did. And can I say something to everyone listening before I forget? I forgot last pod. Guido, we forgot to inform people we're kind of a big deal now.
Mm-hmm. Very much.
I don't know that people know that, but we're kind of a big deal now. And so we noticed ads popping into the pod because we hit a kind of a big deal threshold. So if you've been listening to the last couple shows and you get, I don't know, what would you call it, Guido? Like a targeted, tailored, regional ad for something at the beginning, maybe at the end. You might also notice that smack dab in the middle, you also get one at the halfway point.
Yes.
And I feel like we should have warned you. Guido, we didn't warn people. And so sometimes I think in the last pod, like I think Scoot was talking, and then you got a ad for like Rhode Island Regional Hospital or something, whatever. Like, I don't know. But if you're hearing that, it's not, you're not going crazy. There's nothing wrong with your feed or anything.
Just another way that the man is trying to censor me.
That's right. That's right. Trying to interrupt you, Scoot. Trying to interrupt you.
Making those pennies. We got to make those pennies somehow.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So, since we've last talked, fellas, there have been some losses and there have been some wins. A win against Central Florida, a win against BYU, a tough loss this weekend against Oklahoma.
Yes.
Not surprised? Not surprised.
No, not surprised at the loss, Scoot, but surprised at, what would you call it? It feels selling it short to say the way we lost. I feel surprised that they took a blowtorch to the defense the way they did. I thought we would stand up better than that.
Listen, I've been outspoken on my disdain for Coach Brown and company. Mostly the coaches, not so much the players. But anyway, I will say this. Had we been able to pull out this win,
I
was thinking about going to the base camp. I was thinking about it.
Now listen, Guido, I'm not trying to jump ahead of you here, but you've been specifically asking Scoot, like, what needs to happen for you to get on board.
And I think
Scoot, I'm surprised. So you would have like breezed through the carabiners section at the store, is what you're saying.
I would have been making sure that I had the appropriate harness.
Wow.
I think.
Have you ever said that sentence?
No.
Checking that you had the appropriate. Have you ever? You've never spoken that sentence.
No, I don't think so. I think that's a first.
He's checking out the harnesses.
I think I wasn't too excited about beating UCF or BYU for that matter, although BYU did have a winning record at the time.
Now listen, Guido and I tried to tell you for weeks.
I know you kept saying that BYU was a dog. You kept saying it was a dog. Deal.
And you kept saying, no, I think these guys are better.
I don't know. I put more faith into their record and who they were than they actually were. They are a very classy team, though, right?
They are, yes. I think
they're a nice group of young lads. However, had we beaten, or I will even say this, had we given Oklahoma like a run for their money.
Like lose within a score, maybe.
Yeah, right. Like it's a 35-28 type game,
or maybe not give up 8 touchdowns
42-40
to the quarterback, maybe. Would you say that?
Now, and I'll say this. First drive, I thought, okay, we're into something here, right? That seemed to go pretty smooth.
Well, now, what do you guys always say about first drives?
Could it be one of those scripted drives that seems to go well? And then when Neil and the boys have to think for themselves, it's a little bit
bit of a free for all.
You know, the old let's try to run it up the middle on 1st and goal, 2nd and goal, 3rd and goal, 4th and goal, from the 1 all 4 times. The exact same play all 4 times.
That was a bad look. Yeah, that was a bad look. That felt bad, Guido. Like you should have been able to. I mean, it was even less than a yard, I think, at one point in that series.
Neil Jet Sweep Brown decided to not even try a jet sweep in that series.
Left, right motion.
We're
You're
jet
in motion.
sweeping on the second play of the game, where all of a sudden E.J. Horton is running like a wild man off to the right side. That was probably the best way to get him the ball because he could not catch the ball the rest of the game. We tried to pass to him.
Well, it felt like, hey, you've attacked this interior of their defense. It's obviously not working. So, like, go. Yeah, you're right. Like, go somewhere else with it.
Pass McGee when you need him.
Right. We've never shied away from a tunnel screen. Where's that guy at or something? I don't know.
But I think had we beaten that team, I think I'm like, okay, that's a national power. They're a ranked team. They're a team with a winning record. We've not done very much of that. You've got a winning record so far this year. If you beat Oklahoma, now you're looking at what, 7-3?
Right.
Yeah.
And you're in the talk still for maybe playing in the conference championship at 7-3. It's not out of, the realm of possibility. I'm starting to believe at that point. But Neil did it for us.
Neil nailed it. I mean, listen, I think there was a point. I remember a point at the beginning of the year where we were like, this defense is good. I'm excited about this defense. And then, like, all of a sudden, Jordan Leslie and the crew have forgotten how to defend the football.
Yeah, you're right. After TCU, we were kind of talking like, I'm kind of good. I'm kind of okay with this defense. They're showing us something. And then, 3 out of 5 losses later, some of these, 41 points to Houston, 48 points to Oklahoma State, the 59 points last night. It's a bad look. Now, we'd be remiss if we didn't say, I think going into UCF, I think it's a little better now. We've got Burks back. We've got some other people back. But I think it was going into UCF maybe, and even a bit with BYU, Guido, I felt the defense was being held together like one of my old wiffle ball bats. Like it had enough duct tape and stuff on it. Like so many people were out. I was kind of cutting them a break. But this game against Oklahoma felt different. This Oklahoma game felt like our dudes are just way better than your dudes. Like it's, you know what I mean? Like it's not even close.
And if we're being honest, this might be the first team with an actual quarterback that we've played so far. Dillon Gabriel had a little bit of, some credentials coming into this game. He wasn't necessarily the slouch or the backup guy that we seem to, for whatever reason here, the last several weeks, it seems like we catch a team where their starting quarterback is hurt, or we catch a team where they've got a new, not established quarterback. We played Pitt. Their quarterback doesn't even play quarterback anymore.
Yeah, he apparently should have been playing right tackle or something. I don't know. But
that's the kind of stuff.
I think what gave me some hope though, Scoot, because you're right. But I think, coming out of Central Florida, the kid, Guido, who was their quarterback? The Plumlee kid?
Falscraft? Oh. Who was the Falscraft? Was that last week?
Falscraft, you mean like the plate?
Yeah, yes. that was BYU, right? Scoot, are you talking about like dinnerware china that you would hand out for a wedding gift, or are you talking about a quarterback? Well, anyway, I think the UCF quarterback, I mean, he's established. They're high on him. He came into that game with some pretty good stats. and they actually made him look pretty bad. We had multiple turnovers in that game. That's why I was holding on to some hope that maybe they would give Dillon Gabriel, some heat, make him feel uncomfortable, rush him.
An Oklahoma record, 8 touchdowns.
Right, and they didn't
they
didn't do any of that. So that was super disappointing. So I'm not like, people were on the X last night late after the game, and I think I responded to someone that was saying, I can't believe everyone's so upset they lost. I'm not upset they lost. In fact, come on, we've been counting this as
this was a loss.
Yeah, we've been talking about this being a likely loss for a long time.
Right.
What I'm aggravated about is just being completely torched off the field. Like, this wasn't even, what was it? First half, second quarter, it's like 31-7. I mean, it looked like
defense was so porous.
Very.
Like, you were
porous is being nice.
Yeah, I think that's
the
putting
Stoops kid was a walk-on at one point, was he not? I think he walked on to Oklahoma at some point.
Yeah, I think.
And he's an okay player. We made him look like the second coming of Gronkowski at times.
Well, but it's similar to, we made the Guido, who was it, the Gordon kid for Oklahoma State, the running
he
back.
Looked like Derrick Henry.
Yes.
Yeah, we made him look like some mashup of Barry Sanders and Walter Payton. So I don't know. The defenses looked bad. I think it looked better against Central Florida because they were able to generate turnovers. I think it looked even better against BYU because not only the backup quarterback, but I think we could manhandle them up front a little bit. This game felt totally different. This game felt like, Scoot, I felt like we were the Duquesne. We were like the second week Duquesne team to them almost.
I think they did a good enough job, Oklahoma that is, on defense, that Garrett Green at times was running for his life. He didn't know when he was going to have to run for his life or when he would have a lot of time.
Yeah.
And when he had a lot of time, he either underthrew or overthrew, because I think he was thrown off by the time he actually did have. So the timing was never really on. And God forbid Devin Carter complete a play, right? So if he doesn't catch the ball, he just pretty much is like, I'm not getting that ball. When that interception, he could have easily either caught or knocked down to the ground, but he just gave up on the whole thing altogether.
Well, yeah, that was
right
a
in front of
bad
his face.
That was a bad look. He didn't endear himself to many fans on that particular play. I think he kind of jogged through the route, and then you're right. After it was tipped, he was just like, "Well, this play must be over.
I'm not getting this one."
Right. So yeah, that wasn't a great look for him.
Come on, guy.
Well, and the other thing I think, and again, this has been a thing that's, I think, not even been all season. I think this has been all since Neil Brown's been head coach. It's like, if they're in the game, I feel like the offensive play calling is serviceable. Is like he's doing things to at least, like, take for instance the Houston game, right? Like, the offensive play calling was good for the Houston game. I thought we lost the game. Defensive issues, whatever. Like, there were some coaching issues too. But
I agree.
But this game, it's like once you get behind by 4 touchdowns or 3 touchdowns or whatever it was, halfway through the second quarter, it was like, what are we doing?
Now we're running the ball.
The play calling was like, you're not even trying.
We're down 3 touchdowns. We're snapping the ball with about 7 seconds left on the play clock for a draw
right
up the middle. Like, what are you doing?
Right. Like, there was no sense of urgency.
Well, and Guido, you're right too. It is weird to think about Houston 39 points in a loss, but you wouldn't have blamed the offense for things there. Oklahoma State 34 points in a loss. You put up 41 to beat UCF. You put up 37 on BYU. This game against Oklahoma felt like you finally ran into someone though. We talked on the last show. In that Houston game, it felt like the offense had to score every time they touched the ball because the defense really couldn't stop anything.
Right.
This game felt the same way, but you finally ran into someone that you just couldn't move the ball on. You couldn't score on. And that just, you're right. By the second quarter, the wheels had fallen off, and then it looked like they were just totally discombobulated. Like, there was no coming back from that 31-7. Like, the route was on at that point.
So let's talk about where we are. So with that said, we're going to play in a bowl game. We got a bowl game coming. We're 6-4. I mean, you guys want to hear some of the bowl projections? Have you been looking at this?
You sent us one on the text machine the other day, Notre Dame and the Pop-Tarts Bowl. I love everything about that.
Yeah. Right now, I think the realistic one is, and just because of where it is and who we've played in this bowl before, guaranteed rate bowl in Phoenix at Chase Field. That's why it kind of makes sense.
Scoot.
Yeah, it's a Bank One ballpark, formerly Bank One ballpark.
Mr. Ken Kendricks.
Are we being invited to, like, is this a
Did you get us?
is this
did you
a
get us tickets,
is this a
Scooty?
post World Series? Like maybe.
I don't think we're getting invited.
Okay, you made him too mad. You made.
Don't think we're getting invited.
So right now, a couple of places have us predicted playing against Illinois, the Fighting Illini.
Oh, interesting.
At the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. So,
Ugh.
9 o'clock on a Thursday night or whatever it is.
Great.
You know?
Against someone I really don't care about.
Against that rival Illinois.
But here's the one that I've seen pop up a couple of times that I'm actually excited about. This is a bowl game, even though it's like whatever, a middle tier bowl game. I could be excited about this.
Okay.
The AutoZone Liberty Bowl, right? Which we've played in before, Memphis, Tennessee.
Yeah.
West Virginia versus Maryland.
Oh, okay. All right. I hate those guys.
I mean,
I care about that,
you hate
Scoot.
that-
I care about
You
that.
could care about that, right?
Yeah, you get to Tawalia, Tagovailoa.
Is he still
Wait.
there? Is he still playing?
Guido,
Is he
don't
still
interrupt
playing in
him.
Maryland?
Guido, don't interrupt. What's going on here, Scoot? What?
Talia Tagovailoa.
Are you sure? Is
No,
that what we're
I'm
doing?
not really sure. I'm really not
Talia?
sure. What's his name? Johnson.
No,
What is his name?
I mean, you brought this up. I feel
you
like
can-
you
you-
need to be the one
Guido,
to.
can you help him?
No, I can't. I'm sorry. You seem like you have this under control, Scooty.
Isn't it Tua Tagovailoa? Isn't that?
So what's his brother's name then?
Yeah, right.
'Cause that's
I
the
know,
quarterback.
No, yeah, you're right. What is his brother's name at Maryland? I don't remember now. But you're right. It's the Tagovailoa kid.
Is it Tualia? Is that what you said?
I think-
Tualia?
Tawalia.
Have we butchered this enough now? Or
Oh, I
I-
mean, like,
Anyway,
the last time
Anyway.
though, Guido, I traveled to watch us play Maryland in a bowl game. It was terrible. You may remember. I think it was the CarQuest Bowl in Jacksonville. Maybe it was the Gator. It must have been the Gator, and we lost 41-7 after having already been
Listen,
beaten similarly like that in the regular season by Maryland. So hopefully it would be better than that.
I mean, I guess the Maryland, that would be better. That's a way better than playing Illinois in the middle of Arizona.
right?
What are you talking? Of course it is. Guido's right. Scoot, Maryland is part of the axis of evil.
Right.
Yes.
I get that.
I
Yes.
forgot about that.
Come on.
The axis of evil.
Penn State, Pitt, Maryland. That's axis of evil. What are you talking about? Yes.
I don't know that we win that game.
Oh no,
If you're
Guido,
looking for a
remember,
game that we win,
Guido,
I don't
remember,
know.
it's been so long. It wasn't just the axis of evil. It was the what did I call it? The what was it? Quadrilateral of evil, because we had put Virginia Tech in there too. We needed 4 points. I wanted to call it the rhombus of evil, and you guys wouldn't let me do that. And I think we fell back to the quadrilateral of evil.
I believe that's right.
That was
Quadrilateral.
way-
It looked
that
like
was-
a kite.
That was way funnier in my head before I brought it up. You guys aren't laughing at that, but remember we used to give an update on the
We did
evil
every week.
evils. Remember, we haven't done that in a while.
Yes.
No, Guido, I would watch that. Versus
I think I would watch
over
that.
the Illinois option. I would definitely watch that option.
I think
against
looking
Maryland.
at the two of the options, right? A 9 o'clock tip off. We'll get to basketball.
We'll get to
in a second.
basketball.
A 9 o'clock kickoff against Illinois. I think I'm falling asleep halfway through the second half.
Well, this feels too
I'm kind of old.
Arizona State-ish for me, Guido. What was that bowl where you had to be up until 2 in the morning?
That was the Guaranteed Rate Bowl.
Was
Wasn't
it?
That
Is
in
that the
Phoenix?
one? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I think that was in Phoenix. It was like a 10. I mean, every time I tell this story, I feel like it's later. Like they didn't kick that game off until 12:45.
It grows as you get older. Be like, we had to.
I woke up at 4 in the morning to go to work, and they were still
That's
playing
hilarious.
that game.
You're right. That's how that goes. That's how stories like that go.
But yeah, I mean, I would much rather see us play Maryland. I think that would be fun. I mean,
Well, here's the thing, though.
a rivalry.
Here's the question. I'm glad this to me is a good segue, because there's a lot of people, though. Don't you think it's weird? I feel like Scoot's going to agree with me first. Guido may take some convincing, but isn't it weird that people are like, well, yeah, they're going to go 8-4 now. because they've got Cincinnati and Baylor left.
well, everyone just assumes that.
Yeah, isn't that a weird thing?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
at the
assumed.
beginning of the season, you wouldn't have assumed jack squat, right? And now people are like, well, they're obviously going to go take care of these last two games. I hope, but I'm not.
I think Cincinnati, yes. I don't know about Baylor.
I'm with you, Scooty. I think Cincinnati's a yes. That Baylor game makes me a little nervous
because they're on the road, right, Scoot?
Because it's in Waco.
Right.
It's Baylor. They've had a bad season. They're gonna go. They don't want to go out.
Let me check my flow chart. Is on road. Yes. Probably a loss.
We do really bad against Baylor historically, I feel. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm sure there's some listener out there that's going to tell me that I didn't do my homework on that and will report back to me.
Yes.
But I do feel that it feels bad most of the time we play Baylor.
Well, Baylor's 3-7. I mean, they're having a rough.
Yeah, they are bad. They are.
And what's Guido? Cincinnati's also 3-7, I believe.
Cincinnati's also 3-7 as well.
I mean, they're both.
And
they're both having a struggle bus year.
Yeah, but see, I don't think the Big 12 this year, that doesn't matter. It doesn't like.
Well,
it really
let's
doesn't
look
matter.
at Oklahoma State yesterday.
Cincinnati did lose to Baylor. Cincinnati beat. They beat Houston 24-14, but they lost to UCF. See what I mean? Like it doesn't make any sense. The Big 12 makes no sense this year.
Oklahoma State losing to UCF 45-3, I think, made absolutely no sense over the weekend. Guido's right. It's like, I mean, you can't week to week. You really can't project. It's hard to forecast.
And it's not because teams are so good. It's the complete opposite, right?
Yeah,
you just don't know.
Right.
You don't know who's not going to show up even worse than the other team. It's like, man, they just didn't show up at all.
Guido, I think the problem, I don't know, interesting thing here with these last two games is I think people are saying, well, they're obviously going to go 8-4 because of how bad these last two teams are, because they feel like that will be okay. Like, to me, 8-4 means you went out and took care of business here. I think it will be interesting, Scoot, if they go, if you end up 7-5 or God forbid 6-6, like, to me, that's really bad. Like, that's terrible. That is really bad, because these are two teams that you should just go out and take care of business against.
Right.
Yeah. Like, even that road game, you should go out and take care of business.
6-6 is borderline fireable. I know he won't be fired, but 6-6 would be borderline fireable.
Well, that's where my mind goes.
So let's talk about this for a second. Let's say he wins one of these two, right? It's 7-5. And we say he's going to stay around. 7-5, he stays around. But Jimbo Fisher got fired today.
Yeah.
With a winning record, mind you.
With a win, yes. But Jimbo Fisher gets fired. Jimbo Fisher in interviews before has talked about loving growing up in the area, loving West Virginia, talking about. I'm just saying, I want to be that guy, Scoot. I want to be that guy that brings it up. I'm just saying.
I think it's worth a conversation.
Is it a conversation like at the end of the year? If Jimbo Fisher's people are calling Ren Baker today and saying, hey, Jimbo wouldn't mind coming back to West Virginia, coaching in his home state.
And maybe they'd say, Jimbo's got 76 million reasons to not need a big salary.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yes,
that's
right.
crazy.
He doesn't need money. I mean, I'm sure there's probably something in his contract if he takes another job.
Here's my question. How friendly is Jimbo with Ken Kendrick?
You always tie it back to the Diamondbacks. How do you do that?
Is Ken Kendrick interested in Jimbo?
I mean, Texas A&M and the Diamondbacks have similar colors.
He's kind of like our T. Boone Pickens. Boone T. Pickens. Pickens Boone
Did
Pickens.
you say C. Boone Pickens?
T. Boone.
T. Boone Pickens.
T. Boone.
That's like Boone
T.
Pickens' cousin. C. Boone Pickens.
I'm just saying, like when I heard that news today, as we recorded,
well, it makes you perk
a few
up.
hours ago.
Yeah, it
makes you go, hey.
Yeah.
Because
Jimbo's from Clarksburg, right, Guido?
He's from Clarksburg. Yeah, he's from Harrison County. Yeah, and so I don't know. I'm just saying, like I don't think there would be any love loss. I think that if you're Ren Baker and Jimbo's people call you and say, hey, he'd be interested in talking, I think you talk. I think you talk.
I'm going to say something that everyone's thinking. This is for all our listeners out there. This is for you two fellows.
The people.
I'm going to say what everyone is thinking.
Okay.
If Neil Brown, if we find out, we go to sleep tonight and we wake up tomorrow morning to find out that Neil Brown is no longer the head coach of West Virginia University, the land-grant university of the state of West Virginia.
Yes.
No one
Are you adding
is
gravitas
upset.
there?
No one. There's no one that says,
No,
oh, come
I agree.
on. Why'd they let him go? Nobody says that. Nobody is like, man, I can't believe they let him go. Everyone's like, okay, cool. Are we going to get Jimbo? Like, is Rich Rod
I'm
a
gonna make another-
possibility? That's what everyone's
Everyone's
gonna say.
okay, cool.
Everyone is. Everyone's okay, cool.
No one's like,
they are.
oh, man, I can't believe they let Neil go. What are they going to do?
Hey, listen, we didn't re-up Dana. Everybody was like, oh, okay.
Scoot, fear of no Neil. There's a
Like-
lot of fawns out there, though.
Here's my argument, though, Johnson. Listen to this. And so this is where I started thinking about it today. West Virginians love what? They love people
They
from
do.
West Virginia,
They do
right?
that. They do that. That is
Look at their love of the offensive line.
Listen, my wife hates it every time
Scoot does
Capital
too.
One commercial comes on and it's Jennifer Gardner and I'm like, she's from West Virginia. My wife hates it. We like that's what West Virginia.
and I love her, Scoot. I love her.
I know you love Jennifer Gardner.
Guido
Everyone does from West
Guido
Virginia.
does too. Guido does too. We all
So,
do it. I can't help it.
here's
I
my-
can't help it.
here's my
I
point.
support them.
Here's my point. West Virginia has built the athletic department around who for the last 15 years? Wait,
Yeah.
who?
Huggins,
Yes, right?
Bob Huggins.
It's been all
yes.
about Bob
Right.
Huggins
He's from
came
West Virginia.
home.
Right.
He's from West Virginia,
Right.
right?
Yes.
Now we don't have that. We don't have
So
that.
you're
right
saying
now.
there's an opening for that right
Well,
now.
There is
And-
that opening could be because we loved it when Rich Rod was
We
here.
did.
He's from Marion County. We loved him.
People in West Virginia kind of like Alabama just because Nick Saban is from West Virginia. It's not because they like
It's
Alabama.
true.
People are like,
Absolutely,
their
it's
second
true.
team.
I agree.
They're like, well, he's from West Virginia, so it's practically a West Virginia team.
Jimbo Fisher from Clarksburg, West Virginia, comes back home to coach.
What would be
his home
wild?
states.
Listen, I'm going to throw this wild
right?
scenario out. Jimbo comes back as
Okay.
the head coach. Rich Rod is his offensive coordinator. Tony Gibson and Jamel Adai run the defense.
People's heads will explode. They'll be so happy.
Yes.
Quincy Wilson, running back coach.
Right. Keep going.
Owen
Yes.
Schmidt,
Right.
tight ends.
Do
Yeah,
it.
right.
Keep going.
Tight ends and fullback.
Yes.
Johnson's eating
Rasheed
it up.
Marshall,
But
I
here-
quarterback
love it.
coach.
I love this whole staff.
Byron Leftwich. Oh wait, no, maybe not. I love all of the. I love too, like all the rumors right now about Rich Rod coaching down in.
Yeah, that
Huntington
is
at
interesting.
Marshall.
Yeah, that is interesting.
So, but here's the thing, Scoot. Like Jimbo Fisher comes. Like they get rid of Neil. Jimbo Fisher comes back. And Scoot, you're not even from West Virginia. You're a transplant. You're in.
Yes.
Scoot's in.
Yes, because he has instant credibility, right? He's recruited before. He knows what it's like to be a West Virginian. So
well,
he
and
understands
he's been on a staff that's won a national championship.
Yes, he's figured things out, right? Not that Neil
He
hasn't. Well, I
relates-
think Neil hasn't really, if I'm being honest. He hasn't figured things out.
Guido, the only thing though is I can't get a feel for. I think Texas A&M is its own pressure cooker version. It's a weird one, granted.
It's kind of like a New York City of
It's
baseball, right?
It's
like
weird, isn't it? It puts people in these like win immediately, like under the microscope.
Right.
His whole tenure there was so weird, wasn't it? Like it was just a weird
and
situation.
They do a lot of weird chanting.
Oh yeah, they're weirdos. Yeah, with the 12th man stuff and
Yeah,
the,
like,
what
what
do
the
they
heck
call
are they?
those? What do they call the
Hootenannies or something. I
the
don't
yell
know.
leaders or whatever?
Yeah, like,
I
it's
don't know.
Very bizarre. There's a lot of like shirtless overall wearing.
Yes, overalls. It's the overalls that sticks out.
It's
isn't
very
it?
strange.
No, Guido, I think
I'm just-
you bring it up because it's something that will inevitably get talked about. If you're asking, should there be a conversation between our athletic department and Jimbo Fisher, I would say you would expect there to be one, right? Maybe on the down low, but you would expect some kind of contact there. I
Well,
think.
surely one of these boosters, Ken Kendrick or somebody else, because that's the only one we really know. Surely one of these characters is like, Jimbo's out there? Hey, Ren, have you met Jimbo? Let me introduce you to Jimbo. Maybe there's nothing there, but maybe we can find something. Maybe we can find some common ground.
Well, Guido, can we talk about something else really quick too? What I feel like is the weekly referendum on Neil Brown. Can we just talk about that week to week? It's fatiguing to me. So we came out of, when I think I pointed out to you guys, when we came out of Oklahoma State, I think I sent you guys that's when I noticed the account on X of, I don't remember what it's called.
Can you please say Twitter?
So that's when I first saw the handle on Twitter about, if Neil Brown were fired today, this is what it would cost account. That's when that popped up, right? And everyone was torches and pitchforks, right? After Oklahoma State. After BYU, so 2 wins later, I saw some jackwagon. I don't know what account it was on Twitter, but they had posted a Scoot, maybe you saw it. It was like a form that you could fill out of how to apologize to Neil Brown for not rooting as hard or not trusting the client. Like, that came out after wins. And and so now after last night's Oklahoma game, I feel like it's completely swung the other way, and there's people on Twitter, X Twitter, that are now back to like, hate this guy, can't believe this, blah, everything's awful. And I guess, Guido, my point in bringing all that up is I don't feel like, Scoot, do you agree? I don't feel like my opinion of Neil Brown has changed this whole like, if you when we did our show in September, late August, I don't feel like my opinion has changed any. No. Honestly,
my opinion hasn't changed in 3 years.
So like, Guido, who is going week to week? Like, who is like, yay, I love this guy. We won. Yay, I love this guy. We lost. Boo, I hate this. Like, who's doing that each week? It makes no sense to me.
And here's the thing. I'm a West Virginia fan, and I'll always climb the mountain if not only for the fact of the flying WV. But Scooty is right about one thing that he has said, and he has said for 3 years, which is Neil Brown will never bring this team to being a national championship contender or even a conference championship contender. Mediocrity will be the state of West Virginia football.
I think so too. Yeah. And
we will be happy with 8-4 or 7-5 seasons, because that's what Neil Brown will
and let's
bring.
Season that a little bit, because Scooch, you don't have the context here. Guido does, but I know you've heard because there are also people on Twitter that will post, Guido, about like, well, how on earth can you be mad at 8-4? Right? They will post that, and I get it. I get what they're saying. Like Don Nehlen made a long career out of going 8-4, 9-3, right? Okay, like I'll give you that, because people do that all the time. Like, well, you weren't mad at that guy, but
it was a different time though.
Well, and Guido, every once in a while, and I don't just mean 88 and 93. I don't. Every once in a while and consistently, Don Nehlen's teams would punch up and catch somebody. I mean, Scoot, to this day, we joke with Clone Dog. If anything comes on TV about Doug Flutie, my dad will in a snap look at me and say, Flutie never beat WVU. And he's right. Like, and Boston College came in with like top 5 ranked teams in that era. So I'm not saying just, I think people like to bookmark Don Nehlen in 88 and 93. And then there are a bunch of seasons where he would go 7-5, 8-4, 9-3, but he would punch up. He would surprise people. He would, you know what I mean? Like, he would punch up and get an Oklahoma every once in a while. He would punch up and get, take
that sentence that your dad would say, Doug Flutie never beat West Virginia. Take out the Doug Flutie, insert Neil Brown, take out the West Virginia, insert ranked team.
Well, that's kind of what I'm getting at, though, because Guido, this 8-4. Let's project it forward. Let's say we go 8-4, and there are going to be people that are like, "You guys are crazy.
Right?
You're complaining about a guy that was supposed to finish last, and he finished 8-4." And I get it. I do. I'm not ignoring that, but I'm not sure how much more hollow an 8-4 could feel if not this type of this is not. You even had the luxury, Scoot, of you didn't have to play a good Kansas. You didn't have to play there are other people in the conference that you didn't even have to play question. That are good.
When did you see a team that was 8-4 yet had not been ranked at any point during that season?
Well, right. And Guido's talking about bowls. The cherry on top will be, unfortunately, I mean, I hate this because now I feel like I'm just totally being sour, right? But it will be the most easiest thing to expect. And Guido, I think you will agree with this too. We will end up going to a bowl and playing a good team. We'll play someone good. And I fully expect we will not win that. Because it will be a good team. Right. It will be a good team we will be playing.
We almost lost to Army, and we brought a mannequin in to win the game. Like, we're not going to beat a good team. Listen, enjoy whatever, like, we go to this bowl game, you better have some great plans for your halftime snacking, because that's going to be the highlight. Right? The highlight is going to be what kind of snacks you have at halftime.
What I don't know, Johnson, and I agree with all of this, what I don't know is, does the university, specifically Ren Baker and the athletic department, do they see it the same way we all see it? And I think that's where I'm kind of, flabbergasted by it, because I don't think they see it. I don't think they see it.
Well, what I'm afraid they see, Scoot, is 8, even 7 wins, I think allows them to look at people in the face and be able to make the argument that there was improvement, and not have to own up to the buyout is too big. We want to decrease this buyout. This gives them enough to say he stays and he moves on, because in a vacuum of a season, 8-4 is not a bad season. What I think people like to do is they put blinders on. Guido, we're in year 5, and a year 5 team playing our schedule. At the in August we said
absolutely this should be a 10 win. This should be 10 to 11
I
wins.
really think so.
Season.
It's.
You could argue that the only two in year 5, the only 2 losses should have been Oklahoma and Penn State in this schedule.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You just took the words out of my mouth.
100%.
This schedule it's not a hard. There are people out there that will try to convince you that this is a really hard schedule. This 100%. Is not a really hard schedule.
100%. Well,
not a hard schedule.
Speaking of not hard schedules, early in the basketball season, WVU Hoops generally plays a pretty not hard schedule, guys. Generally, get a couple like Patsies come in, Our Lady of the Lake, we play them, we win by 20. And, it's a good time. We see some guy, you see the guys way down on the bench get in the game. You see a lot of things.
Well, you're seeing that this year.
You are seeing that this year. You're seeing the guys way down on the bench get in the game, but we are not looking pretty, guys, especially after a loss to a 300th ranked in the Ken Palm rankings, a 300th ranked Monmouth team on Friday night, 65-73. Not pretty, guys.
Scoot, those people are now sitting way farther up the bench, though, because they have to.
Well,
they don't have a choice.
The end of the bench is actually not really on the bench anymore. They're actually in the game.
What do we have, 7? We have 7 players now?
8 scholarship players.
8 guys?
And Big Ali has yet to make an appearance yet. The walk-on, D2 walk-on, 7 foot. Well, I think he's he's mysterious, right? What was that wrestler who hailed from parts unknown? That's how Ali is, right? Some people list him at 7 feet. Some people list him at 7'2". He's like the legend of Ali.
We don't really know.
Yeah, we're not really sure.
Scoot, can you just confirm or deny a rumor that I heard that there was, from the Ohio Valley, a 6 foot, probably really 6'2", 6'3", but sometimes shows us 6'4", shooting guard that still has a year of eligibility left to play some basketball.
Who was once matriculated.
Did he get a call
at West Virginia University? I could be a grad, not a transfer. I guess I could just be a graduate student. I'll find something. I'll find something to study. I'll go to study hall. I'll tell you that right now, Jose. I'll go to study hall. I don't care if I'm taking the classes or not. I'll be there. Listen, that didn't help us, right?
Johnson, you know what will happen, though? If Scoot does get asked to play, he will lead not just the team, but he will lead the whole entire bench, coaches included, everybody, in most gray hairs on the head.
I would lead the team in that. I might lead the nation in that. I feel I would be a student section darling. They would love me.
Oh, I think they'd love you.
There'd be a lot of bow and arrow action out of me after I shot 3-pointers.
Scoot. They'd want you in the game, like late in the game.
Yeah.
They'd want you in the game.
Right. What was the kid a couple of years ago that they always chanted?
I was just trying to.
What was his name?
Mackie,
yes.
Mackie, yes.
I do have some street cred about my game.
You do.
I once took a charge to Rashamel Jones from UConn. He was a national champion. Maybe you remember him, Rashamel Jones, the starting point guard from the 1999 UConn national champions.
Maybe you've heard of him.
In
a AAU tournament, I had the privilege of playing him and 5 of his good friends. The guy I had to defend looked like the second coming of Charles Oakley, a freaking tree trunk of a man. All 6 of the team members on that team dunked on us at various points.
Okay.
But the highlight of the game was when a young Scoot not only scarfed up 2 rebounds, scored 2 points, but took a charge to a overzealous Rashamel Jones.
But, okay, so to bring it back in all seriousness.
You started this.
I did start it. That's my fault. Sorry, I do sometimes I like to, get Scoot a little cranked up. It's very hard to watch right now. I mean, you're not wrong. There's only been 8 guys who have collected who have collected minutes so far this season, right? Right now the team kind of feels like it's on the back of Jesse Edwards.
Yep.
Transfer.
Let me give you a quick breakdown on how things are going.
Break it down.
Let me give you a quick breakdown.
Break it down.
Kobe Johnson, whom we've been waiting for 3 years to do something, like come out of a shell. We heard at the end of last year, we heard maybe he was injured and wasn't his true self or something. Well, if he's not injured, he might want to claim that he's injured because he has not. He's not providing any offensive value, right? He's not a scorer. He's not really assisting. He's a struggle. And if he's going to have to play 30 minutes a game, which is what I think he's playing.
Well, for what, 8 more games? How much longer is Chris
7
suspended?
more games. 7 more games. So he's an issue. Jesse Edwards has to do all of the scoring. And if Slazinski's not hitting, then we're in big trouble.
But it feels like those 2 guys are the only 2 people that should be attempting shots, right?
Right. Seth Wilson is not consistent. Yes, Seth Wilson has not been consistent. Neve, I think he's a good young player. He's being thrust into a role that he's not ready for yet.
Yeah,
right. He should be one of those guys that gets you, 5-10 minutes here or there, just to give somebody a break. JoJo Harris maybe overplaying his role, right? He's somehow shooting 3-pointers and doing things that I don't think he's necessarily ready to do.
I think he was 1 for 12 against Monmouth.
That's not great. I mean, I'm not a math guy. Guido, is that good?
Well, Scoot, I have a noted not math guy.
Yes.
He's definitely not a math guy.
Well, I think, Guido, though, we were texting a bit during this game, and my point of view just watching the game was I feel like on offense, it feels like there should be 3 options. The first one is Jesse Edwards. The second option is, are you sure you haven't tried Jesse Edwards? And then the third option is, no, really, I think you should try to see if Jesse Edwards is open again, because I don't like it should just run through him. And Scoot, you bringing up JoJo Harris, do I have to call him JoJo? Do I have to do that?
Yes, you do.
I got so used to Josiah.
No, it's JoJo.
I'm still Joe.
Well,
I'm still Joe.
So him, the only reason and I'm not trying to pick on him, but they just continued to go to that well, Scoot. Like, people like him were shoot. And I know they had this Monmouth apparently unveiled the Syracuse legendary 2-3 zone that I didn't know they were capable of playing, because this zone, although you would think was not a big deal, just flabbergasted us for the entirety of the second half and half of the first half.
Because we can't shoot outside. We got
Right,
no offensive threat.
But that's what I mean. Like, it just became weird to me that they weren't trying even harder then to go.
Well, what's I think maybe a swing and a miss for us, right? So if Kobe Bryant, geez, he's not even close to Kobe Bryant. If Kobe Johnson is refusing to shoot, and when he does shoot, it's not great, I think we've got to play Bembry more. I don't know enough of, like, I've seen enough of Kobe to know that I don't know that I like that. I've not seen enough of Bembry to say that's not an answer.
And that's what and that's what I don't and maybe I don't understand what's happening in the program. Don't get me wrong, but I don't understand why, if you're this short and you have this few players. I mean, you saw 6 guys played that last game, and then Sumnak played 4 minutes, and Sumnik played 4 minutes, and Sumnik
and
Bembry played 3 minutes. Shumack.
Poison Shumack.
No. But I mean, like, you have those 2 guys, your 7 and 8 guys, they only played 3 and 4 minutes. Like, like Jesse Edwards played the whole game. Like, he played all but 1 minute.
The ironic thing is I kind of love that. It's just not these
I would
particular.
I would love that if
we love that, but
I love that, but it's
right.
not the 6 I'm looking for.
Not
right.
this.
We love that.
And I think
love that.
Look, in fairness to them, Scoot, we talked about it during the George Mason game too. Like, you're finally trying to get these guys together and play, and it's obvious that, like, if a Cook is in the game, for example, then there's not as much pressure on Jesse Edwards. Like, Monmouth, to their credit, could just follow 2 people around Jesse Edwards at all times. I think that makes a huge difference. And then I think, we're talking about the guard play is just not good. And I think not having Battle and Krissa is just, like, glaringly obvious. And that's the shame of it, because I think now you have guys that were probably planning, like you were saying with Nave, I didn't expect to be playing the minutes I'm playing, and I'm sort of having to now, like, figure out where I fit and how does this work, and so I don't envy them at all.
Josh Eilert has even said before the games started, about 3 weeks ago, that we've got guys that are on our team that are not Big 12 ready, and I think he knows, like, he's got people. He said, I've got guys that have been getting reps that wouldn't normally be getting the reps that they're getting, but because I don't know who's eligible and what we've got available, these guys are getting forced into duty when they really shouldn't be. Like, I mean, we don't have, for whatever reason, we might be the only team in America that doesn't have a bunch of walk-ons, but we don't have a bunch of walk-ons, and we're playing guys that probably would be walk-ons somewhere else.
Well, tell me, here's my thing that I'm stuck on, Guido. I want you guys to tell me how to feel about, I mentioned this to Scoot, and he melted my face off the other day. He's not happy with me saying this, but I'm going to bring it back up because I'm just being honest. I know we lost this game, but I was disappointed in the coaching, because if I just line guys up, and I line Jesse Edwards up, and I line Quinn Slazinski up, and I know JoJo Harris, I just can't get used to that. I know Josiah Harris didn't shoot well, but athletically, he's a big guy. He's an athletic guy. Seth Wilson can shoot. He didn't show it in this game. Where I'm going is, I feel like if I lined those guys up, and then I lined Monmouth's guys up, I still expect you to coach these guys up and beat Monmouth. I do. Scoot. So tell me, like, what am I supposed to think? And I'm not, like, trying to hammer on Coach Eilert. I'm just saying it was disappointing to me that like, he and staff could not coach these guys up to beat Monmouth. I think they should have been able to do that.
Even in text, I'll give you this, Johnson. Even in text, I believe at one point I said, it was in the second half and we were down 10 or so, and I said to you, why is Quinn Slazinski not in the game right now?
Yeah,
why
right.
are we not?
We were
playing
talking
him? Like,
about. You're right,
he
and
almost
we were
has to be in the game.
right. I totally agree.
He is not Eric Stevenson, but for all intents and purposes, that's what he is on this team right now. Is Eric Stevenson?
Things kind of move as he moves.
He's got to be that clutch guy. Like I don't think he's that scorer that Eric Stevenson was, but he had 18 the first game, so I mean he must be able to score.
But we were also saying, why are we holding on to these times? Like to me, we were watching this lead. The lead went above 10 at one point, and we're still not calling the 2 timeouts that we have.
And I don't know Coach Eilert well enough. I don't know that any of us really know enough about having his coaching style yet because he's so brand new to it. He does feel a little bit like Beeline in that he's kind of a rah-rah guy. Beeline was very rarely negative. He was always very positive anytime he talked or anytime you saw him on the sideline. He was always kind of a positive guy. There are times for me, though, where maybe you have that crucial conversation with Kobe.
Like
maybe
you'd like to see him in a guy's face.
A little bit of like a, hey, listen, you've got to step up or you're not doing what we're asking you to do, that kind of thing. And maybe he's worried that, one of those guys says, well, I'm out. I'll see you later. And now you're down to 7. Maybe that's what he's – I don't know if he's worried about that. He shouldn't be a Division One college coach.
I can't risk losing this guy, so I can't yell at him.
Yeah,
I want to yell at this guy. I can't lose him, though. Well, but the funny thing, though, Scoot, is I like Eilert, and I love this staff. That's the funny thing is, like, I look down that staff, and I just can't.
It's the most fun staff.
Yeah, I can't help but love these guys. It might be one of the greatest
looking staffs in America as far as, like, can they play? Did they play? Did they play at high levels? Are they guys that people want to play for?
Yeah, like Day, love him. Ruoff, love him. McCabe, love that guy. Look, I'd like to just be like, welcome back, buddy. Like, I love all those guys. I love seeing them. Yeah, I love seeing them all there. So I'm not like, but I'm not going to lie that I felt disappointed. Like, I felt like they should have been able to coach our guys up. I know we're thin. I know it's weird right now, but I think they should have been able to coach them up.
Josh Eilert's got to be like, to this doctor or whoever's in charge of a cook. Listen, what
do we got to do?
Like 3 minutes? Can I get 3 minutes out of him? What can I get? Can he at least start and like maybe intimidate the team by just standing during tip off or something? Can we let him get off the bus first or something to just kind of like make people think he's going to play or something, please?
And the NCAA is still supposed to come back with a ruling on this appeal. With
I'm sure once they see that Big Jim and Baby Dog have weighed in on this, they were probably
they're throwing their weight in.
I was gonna say no, but once I saw Dog was in favor of Raekwon, I thought I better go with it.
Do you think that? I mean, do you think is there any reason the NCAA would change their?
I read
their
somewhere
ruling?
they changed. They honored the appeal of somebody else. So I think that gave people some hope that maybe Raekwon. I don't know the circumstance. Like, I think they're trying to sell that, like, this guy will go down a negative path. Like, he'll turn to a life in crime or something if he were to be denied the opportunity to play Division I basketball this academic year and not next year. Like, if we can't afford to let Raekwon not play basketball this year, if he can only practice and not actually get to wear the jersey and shorts, that's on your hands. That's on your hands. You're going to have to deal with that. Like, I mean, if I'm being realistic, if that's what happens, if you got a rule that says he can't transfer 2 times or something, and if he does, he has to sit 1 year, then maybe that's what happens. And maybe Raekwon just has to be like, this kind of sucks. I wish I could play. Nobody's crying about Noah Farrakhan sitting on the bench. Same boat.
But here's the thing. Like, we saw it with Jose Perez. Like, we thought that was going to be something. And then, and then he doesn't get to play and he's got to sit for a year. Then he leaves. And it's just like, I don't know. It's just so, I think it's way more frustrating, this portal and this transfer situation in basketball than it is in football. Like football, I don't think it doesn't weigh on you as much.
Basketball, it's
so what? You lost a lineman. There's
and I
other
also
ones,
don't feel like
ones,
you get these delayed decisions the way.
No.
I mean, maybe I'm just not seeing it in football, but this whole, hey, I know you've been here for months, but turns out today, a week before you need to know, you're not supposed to be there anymore. I mean, I don't get it.
I think football has a much more next man up sort of mentality than basketball does sometimes as well. Like you put all of your marbles in the Raquin, or whatever, whoever it might
definitely
be.
become on like a 10, 12 man roster
so fast, right? You can go from a team that's not very good to the next year you brought in 3 guys that are great together and good players, and all of a sudden you're a national contender, a conference contender. Like that's how in basketball it doesn't take very much to sway things. So just like right now, we're down 2 guys. This is kind of like rough to watch. You put those 2 guys in, we're not that bad.
Before we leave a cook though, have we? I don't feel like I've seen any additional news on that situation. Have you guys seen anything on that?
Eilert said on Friday that they're monitoring the situation and he is improving. That was all that's come out of the university. So nothing really about him being able to play yet or whatever. So like I don't know. It's and then you look at the schedule, right? And you're like, I mean, I guess Jackson State, I don't know. Jackson State, okay, I'm not going to worry about that. You've got whatever. You've got some of the SMU. You get Bellarmine that we play.
The
every
SMU
year.
is going to be tough.
You get
the Wisconsin Virginia matchup. If we get whichever one we get there in that Fort Myers business, that's going to be. If we don't have a Cook, and we won't have Creasa. Noah Cook makes that. He's not even a great scorer. Like, listen, we're talking about a Cook like he's a big time player. He really isn't as far as like offensive output. He averaged like 5 points a game last year, but his presence is that where it keeps JoJo from having to do what JoJo was trying to do, which he doesn't. I don't think he can.
Well, he had to do like yeoman's work on the boards against.
And I think he does a good job. I think that's his role. I think he's a guy that like sneakily gets some rebounds for you. He's not an outside shooter. And I don't know why he continues to shoot these outside shots. Like that's not his game. And then there are times where he's got a little bit of that Gabe. I don't want to say this too loudly because people, when I talk about this, West Virginians lose their ever-loving minds. But he's got a little bit of Gabe Asaboyan in his offensive gameplay where he's got this molten lava rock in his hands, and he doesn't know what to do with it as he's going toward the basket. And you wonder, surely in high school you scored some points if you're playing Division I basketball. So how is this holding this basketball on the offensive end a new thing for you? And that's kind of what it's like for JoJo, and it's like what it was like for Gabe Asaboyan. Looked like he was, I don't even know when he would be on offense. It was like a hot potato. Like he forgot to put on the oven mitts, and he was tossing it back and forth between one hand to the next.
Well, through 2 games, if I'm mathing correctly here, I'm just trying to glance and as we're talking, but I think they're now 14 of 53 from 3-point range.
yes.
Please give it to Jesse Edwards.
Not great.
Please just see if Jesse Edwards is open, please.
Like
That's what I'd like you to do.
But that's the thing. That's not even like Jesse Edwards is everything he does is down on the block like that. He's not.
That's what I mean.
Threes.
Like we don't have
any 3-point shooters this year.
I want to see interior buckets. I want to see like, and I think
that was your nickname back in high school. Wasn't
interior buckets.
Yeah.
I like the idea of a Cook being in there because even if he does nothing, to your point, Scoot, if he does nothing, it's still someone's like, whoa, that big dude, we need to get a body on him. Like to me right now, they're free to focus on Edwards. I mean, there's no one else eating up any space or drawing any attention.
We can talk about all day long them, Scooty, trying to figure things out. But do you think they figure things out before conference play starts?
I don't know if there's much that they can really figure out until they get if they don't get Raekwon, it's going to be like, I don't think Kobe's the answer offensively. That's a problem because he's the guy with the ball in his hands the most. Slazinski's going to have to score 15 or more. You're going to have to get 15 or more from Jesse Edwards, and then somebody else has to score. It should be Seth Wilson.
It should be Seth Wilson, but it won't be.
But if he's not, then we're in trouble. Like, because you got to have 3 scorers. You can't rely on 1 or 2 guys. You're not going to get it from JoJo Harris. You're not going to get it from Bembry, apparently, because we don't want to give him the chance to play. We're not going to get it from Sumnick because I don't know.
So before we wrap this up, just extremely early call here. Tournament team, not tournament team.
Oi. I would have said you give me Krisa and Battle, or you give me Krisa, Battle, Perez. I say yes without not a lot of difficulty. As we are currently constructed, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say it's going to be tough sledding because we're going to be so, like, here's the thing. You get in the tournament, I know this sounds crazy, but you get in the tournament based on your non-conference schedule because that's where you rack up your wins, right? We're not going to be able to rack up the wins.
We're not racking up those
conference
wins.
Time. Like, you can go 500 in your conference, and as long as you've cleaned house during the non-conference season, you're probably going to go to the tournament. We're going to struggle in the conference season, and we're going to struggle in the non-conference season. Now, if we had Kerr, that's a difference. Like, he is an offensive threat and an offensive help. Without him, we don't have him for the non-conference. Like, that's going to be tough, man. I don't think we are right now.
Johnson, you don't see it either. You don't see a tournament team out of this.
Well, Scoot started to say it. I guess my opinion is when I think of a tournament team, especially out of, anytime you look at the Big 12, usually if you're squeaking into the tournament, there's 18 conference games on the schedule. So you probably went, Scoot, 9-9 at least, maybe
Right.
8-10. And I'm just not sure there's 8-10. And that's I'm not like just trying to be sour on these guys, but like Guido, there's like, I'm just scrolling the schedule. There's a stretch here after Christmas, Ohio State at number 7, Houston, Kansas State, 18 Texas at Oklahoma. Then you play number 1 Kansas. Like this Big 12 schedule is always a buzzsaw, and I think this year again is no different.
We're playing right now. Listen, think about this, right? First of all, we have 8 guys. We are currently playing with 3 of our projected starters not playing. You're playing with 60% of your team not eligible or not playing right now. That's right. Those are 60% of the guys that are going to eat up the most minutes.
So to me, it's way too much of an ask. Like it's way
it'd be
way
one
too.
thing if it was like, okay, we have no Kerr, but we've got a Cook and we've got Raekwon. Or it'd be one thing if you didn't.
But
have
here's the thing, Guido. Having said that, can we just be clear on something? Scoot, I love this team. Like I kind of love this.
I like them too. Like
I mean, it sucked. Like it sucked watching them lose to Monmouth, but I like rooting for them. I already said I love the coaching. Like I love looking
like
down the bench.
Underdog. They're gonna be underdogs in almost everything.
I'm gonna root
right?
like crazy for them. I don't expect a tournament out of this, but I'm gonna root like crazy for these guys.
I'll be honest. I think regardless of outcome, Josh Eilert's gonna have the inside track easily on this job. It's hard for you to say, well, sorry, Josh, you did a really bad job with the 4 guys you picked up at the rec center and Jesse Edwards. Like, it's going to be like, how do you not think about that when it comes time to deciding whether he gets the job?
Do you think, and this is a loaded question I shouldn't even be asking, I know we're running long, but it's too fun. Do you think this team is better if Bob Huggins doesn't wreck a car while inebriated in Pittsburgh?
Trey Mitchell's still there.
Yep.
Joe Toussaint is still there.
Right.
Jose
We're not
still
bringing
there.
in. We're not bringing in Nave. We're not bringing in Big Ali, we're not bringing in Bembry. Some of those guys were late additions because those other guys left.
Yeah,
You
right.
throw Raekwon Battle, Jose Perez, Trey Mitchell, Jesse Edwards, and Kirk Kriisa in a starting five.
yeah.
That's probably a
totally
national
different
contender
totally different conversation.
with Joe Toussaint coming off the bench. Like,
Yeah,
And I don't know if you guys remember this. We finished last season really high on this team and what it could be going into this year before all of the, Huggins craziness. And then, now you're in this situation. By the way, in case you guys hadn't heard, Bob Huggins did get a new gig, kinda. He is on a weekly radio show. I think it's on Sirius XM or one of those things. He's on a weekly basketball radio show where he's called Full Court Press. He's going to be there.
he's also on a weekly binge of claiming he did not really want to resign and shouldn't have resigned. They tricked him into thinking his wife into thinking that they would lose all of their benefits. That's the most recent
Right.
news.
That's
He's
said he'd rather be
got
coaching.
to stop.
Doesn't want to do radio.
He's got to stop. This team, and unfortunately for him, he's not going to stop. And I think everyone, for the most part, is now like, "Thanks, Bob, for costing us a game against Monmouth." I think people are like, "You're the reason why we've lost."
Thanks for going on 2 months of self-sabotage for some reason.
Yeah, you felt you had to talk about the kids from Xavier for no reason. That's what are you doing, man?
I mean, yeah. I mean, he set the program back. He set the program back a year or two. To your point, luckily, and especially with maybe this coaching staff, I think that you can turn a basketball team around in 12, 18 months.
Well, and here's somebody had asked me this week. We had recently signed a guy, Carmelo Adkins, is a newly signed basketball recruit. He's a 3-star, and he goes to a prep school in Arizona, and he was recruited by Jordan McCabe. And I was asked whether or not he was a good player, and I said I think he's an okay player. The problem you have though is when you've got a coaching staff, which we love, but they can't definitively say that they're going to be there next year or the years beyond. They're trying to recruit for that.
Right.
But it's not so much them that's going to be the problem. It's going to be the Caliparis or the I don't know, Bruce Pearls or these other coaches out there, John Shires, that are going to say, well, you can go to WVU, but are you sure that coach is going to be there next year? Are you going to want to play for those guys? Or you don't even know who the coaches are going to be.
right.
And that's so that's going to scare a lot of people away. So it's a pretty good signing, despite the fact that it's, a tentative situation. So I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot more wait and see by high school guys to see what's going to be around, come April.
Well, and you can't blame them. Hey, make this big decision commitment. We're not sure if we're going to be here next year, but please make this giant decision.
And I mean, Jake Kuntz has got to be having a hard time, director of player recruiting, player personnel recruiting. He's got to be having a hard time talking to players right now because you're right. I mean, you go to WVU's website, Josh Eilert's listed as interim head coach. You don't know it. Yeah, you're not wrong. I don't know. I think it's going to be a long. And here's the frustrating thing. Football season's football season. It's going to be a long basketball season, guys. I mean, we're going to pretty soon. I mean, we should be talking. Why are we not doing this podcast about soccer?
Well, they lost today, so we shouldn't be doing that. They did lose.
Maybe okay. That's not good. No, that's not good. Baseball, maybe baseball will be.
Well,
better.
I mean, I as far as basketball goes, I mean, I'm going to be rooting. I'm going to be watching every game that I can watch. I'm going to be rooting for them like I always do.
As we do.
I just think it's going to be a slog. It's going to be a long season, I think.
Well, guys, we should probably wrap it up. Hey, are we going to do another podcast next week or so? What do we think?
Yeah, I
Maybe.
mean,
Yeah,
Maybe
we'll
not.
see.
We'll
Yeah,
see.
we're into it.
I mean, if you get on if you beg us enough, if you get on the Twitters or X or whatever the hell it's called now, if you beg us enough, we may do an episode.
Sometimes life gets in the way, Guido. Sometimes when you've got the kids, the children,
life comes at you fast, Guido.
When you got them children's,
life comes at you fast.
Will slow you down.
Yes, they do. So, well, we'll do our best to be back. Thanks for listening. Don't forget, check us out online. You can find us on Instagram or Twitter at Got Your Ears. You can also find us on Facebook. Just search Got Your Ears On. And you can check out our website, Johnson. It's kind of like everything that you'd want to know about us is on that website.
Yes, in the form of a web page. Think of things you would like to know about us and then think about it in the form of a web page. That is what it is. There's also the merch store. Don't forget that. You can click the link there and click through to the merch store. And we will post a link, the TuneIn link, right on the page, so you can just click the button and listen to the latest show right there on the page. So check it all out.
Yeah, check it out, GotYourEarsOn.com. Hey, guys, we used to sell those pullover guy T-shirts for the fish fry. You think they're doing the fish fry anymore?
No, I'm going to guess not. The pullover guy T-shirts also have a new connotation.
Yeah. Get them while before they sell out. Maybe
we should put some blue and red lights, some blue lights next to that baby.
That's a redesign if I've ever heard it. Right there, we got to redesign that shirt. Pullover guy. That's so good. All right, guys, well, check out our website, GotYourEarsOn.com. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back soon with another show. You've been listening to Got Your Ears On.